Good morning, everyone. My name is Sherry Whalen. I'm Director for Safe Companies with the BC Forest Safety Council. I also support our manufacturing advisory group, and I'm very proud to be welcoming you here today for our second in this series of webinars around significant incident failure potential incidents. We expect this webinar to be about 1 hour in duration, and it's going to be recorded and will be available later on our website as well. Before we begin, you're going to see you've got a control panel and there's an orange arrow at the top. If you open that up, that's going to open a menu where you'll be able to ask questions, help with audio settings, and chat. Questions can be posted anytime, but we will have that time allocated at the end. I'm very happy and pleased to be presenting or to be introducing Kristen Stinson today and Marla Nicol. Kristen is the Vice President and General Manager of Corporate Services with Conifex Timber Inc. She has over 25 years experience in both human resources and safety and has worked in the forestry industry for the past 9 years. She currently holds the position of Vice President and General Manager of Corporate Services at Conifex Timber Inc. Kristen co-developed and taught the Occupational Health and Safety Certificate Program at Okanagan College, as well as teaching the Safety and Human Resources courses for the University of Alberta for 7 years. Prior to working in forestry, she worked in oil and gas and healthcare. Kristen holds a double designation as a Chartered Professional in Human Resources and as a Canadian Registered Safety Professional. Her vision and passion are to motivate high-performing teams and thought leaders who consider safety above all else for their roadmap to success. Kristen and I actually met many moons ago, and we've agreed to not say how many moons that is. And we actually did our University of Alberta certificate together in the Fort McMurray region. So I'm really happy to be able to work with her again in this part of our career. Marla Nicol is a safety supervisor with Conifex Timber Inc. Marla's career has been dedicated to the forestry industry within the field of social services. She holds a human resource and occupational health and safety certificate and has worked for over 15 years with Conifex. As a mother of 2 children and a grandmother of 5, Marla is inspired to lead by example, and her commitment to safety is driven not only by her family counting on her to be safe so that they can spend time at Granny's house, but also to ensure that all industry workers get home safely to their families. I'm going to pass it over to Kristen.
Thanks very much, Sherry, and thank you, the BC Forest Safety Council, for helping us put this webinar on today. And I'll thank you in advance also for Marla and I for supporting us through any technical difficulties that we have with this presentation. It's been a learning experience to use GoToMeeting, so bear with us, please, as we go through this. And I'd really encourage you, if you've got questions, to please make a note of them and be sure to ask us, and we'll do whatever we can to answer those. And as I said, it's going to be a learning experience. So I'd like to start out with just telling you that Marla and I are both really excited to share these experiences that we've had at Conifex, and it's been quite a learning journey. And what I can tell you is there's bumps along the road. There's a lot of lessons learned, and we're happy to acknowledge that we didn't do this on our own. We had a lot of support, mainly from our workers, and then of course our leaders throughout the organization. So we're going to walk you through our experiences of what we learned about implementing a program, and hopefully we can shed some light to things that you're thinking about or working on to support your workers to be safe at your organization and to strive for success and zero harm. So we started out with our PowerPoint just asking, so SIFp, what next? And there was a webinar put on a couple of months back by Troy Withy from West Fraser, and who shared the learnings and experiences that they had implementing that program into their organization. And so what we wanted to do with our program is talk about, once you've understood what SIFp is, what focusing on high risk activities are, what you do with that, how you create a culture where people accept that you're going to start focusing on more leading indicators and start focusing on high-risk activities. So what we're going to do today is talk about, through the support of our Manufacturing Advisory Group, MAG, and through the BC Forest Safety Council and some research, how we came together and had some outcomes of success at our company. I think we have a poll question next, and I'm not actually sure.
The poll question's up now, so if you can just take a minute to answer that. Sherry, when the poll questions come in, can you let us know what the poll results are?
I sure can. So we have 31% that said yes and 69% that said no. And I'll put a plug. We do have that recorded session on our website, and we'll send that out to everyone that's here later.
Okay, perfect. And that's good to know so that I can give you just the high-level overview. So the significant incident and failure potential was established through the Manufacturing Advisory Group, our MAG group, that members of various forestry companies belong to. And really, the webinar demonstrates the what. So what are high-risk activities and why is it so important that we start moving to look at that? And so our webinar today is about the how. Once you understand that high-risk activities are a focus that we should be looking at, how you implement a program into your organization. And so I'll share our experiences and how we got there. So back in 2018, we started looking at our statistics that we'd had over the last 3 years. I started with Conifex in January of 2017. And so that first year was really just gathering information, observing, and really doing a full-scale environmental and company audit to see kind of what our current state was. What we found was, based on the incident ratio model that you see on this slide, is that we were having a heavy focus, as many others do, on only our major incidents. If somebody was hurt, or if there was an explosion, or if there was something catastrophic that was happening, we would focus on those. We weren't paying a lot of attention to our near miss or our first aids, or a lot of the things that don't have any outcome, there's no severity, but those were kind of not really being paid attention to. So we started talking to our leadership about it. We started talking to our joint occupational health and safety committees about it. And while we were going through all of this gathering, we ended up having a fairly significant incident, and that was at our Fort St. James site, and that was in 2018. And so I'm going to pass this over to Marla so she can share with you what took place and the outcomes and the learnings that we had with that incident.
So if you just want to flip down to the next slide. So I'm going to show you a video in a second, but where the yellow circle is on here is where we actually caught the video. We got the incident on video. So where that yellow circle is on the slide, you'll be able to see what happened. So if we click to the next slide, it's the video. Click play. So this is a sawmill in northern BC. It's a typical sawmill yard. It's wintertime and yard conditions can change with the weather. Equipment travel through this area multiple times a day, and they can see the stability of the loads in the lumber, the logs. In the forefront, you can see the logs being loaded into the sawmill. The loader and button top are working on log supply for the sawmill. At the top of the screen, you can see the forklift approach. That is where I want you to focus your attention. Behind that red fire shack there, you can see the forklift parked. So the forklift operator's job today is to load the planer with dried rough lumber. He is in the 2x10 alley to get the load. The loads were stacked 3 high, which is about 16.5 feet. They would remove the top one, the middle one, and then the bottom one, and go back in and repeat that again. So in this film, you can see he removes the second one, and you will see him lower it to the ground. Oh, he's on the load now to remove the spacers. So he got out of the forklift to remove the spacers. And when he's on there, the load falls over, as you can see. So it was an unthinkable thing that happened that day. The lift behind the load wasn't stable and fell over onto the worker. The worker jumped down in between, so he did get hurt by the load falling on him. So if you want to click to the next slide, Kristen. So after the incident, we started an investigation looking for the root cause, and load stability was compromised because the bottom tier was not square. It was missing boards from the front center of the load, which may have been improperly stacked at the sawmill or possibly damaged by the forklift when they put it away. The pile bottoms that the loads were set on were inconsistent in sizing, being made from the cants, the 8-inch or 10-inch cants produced from the canter line at the sawmill. These factors allowed the conditions of the load not being plumb and stable. So prior to the incident, the yard had been visited by WorkSafe, by auditors, by staff and employees, and people had recognized the condition in the yard weren't the greatest, and over time it just became the acceptable norm. So the regulation states that wood can be piled approximately 15 feet high in the foundation if the foundation is firm. We did receive a fine from WorkSafe for the loads not being plumb and stable. The actions after that, we reset the alleys, the ground was cleaned and all the loads removed and re-squared. And that was the day that we decided that we needed a culture change. With everybody knowing the condition and it still being acceptable to us, we thought we needed to do a culture change. So I'll hand it back over to Kristen.
Thanks, Marla. So, you know, I guess when we got to that stage, people had felt a little bit, I guess, shocked because they felt like we were doing a lot of things right. We were putting policy in place, we were putting procedures in place. We were, at the time, dust mitigation was a big deal, so we were spending a lot of our focus on dust. We had inspections regularly. We knew, you know, it was known that for the regulation for how it was stacked, and it just wasn't a focus. And I think when we looked at a review of our statistics and some of our injuries and incidents that were happening, there were some incidents that we'd had out in the yard that I'd say were near misses, no injuries, some housekeeping issues, likely some stacking issues that were brought up before at meetings. But because we weren't having injuries happening or horrific incidents happening, it just really wasn't the focus. So right then, that was for us, how can we catch these in the future? And so this took us into really our research. And we started to think about, okay, we can't just focus when we have something bad happen. We have to think about it before it happens. So how do we do that? One of the pieces that we did do some research through the Boston Behavioral Sciences studies, which was telling us that if you can focus on what you believe are the highest risk in your work and your workstations, there's a start. So your hazard identification might not be as effective if you're not doing that, if you're just looking at your day-to-day tasks, but look at what is high risk, what you believe is high risk and your workers believe is high risk. We did that. We spoke with our manufacturing advisory group. They were in the, the forming stage of the SIFp. So, we chatted there. We went to our floor. We talked to our workers. We talked to the JOSH committees. We talked to our safety leadership team, and I'll talk about that in a sec. And, we gathered all this data and said, okay, we've got to do something different here. We have to make a difference. We do not want to see anybody else hurt. And so another piece was that the feedback that we had from our leaders it was really important for what we could see for numbers, your TRIR, what your recordables were. And because that had been a focus for us for such a long time, we had to figure out how are we going to get people off just looking at our statistics and looking at leading indicators, looking at our observations that we're doing, looking at our inspections and near misses, which would be something very different from what we were used to putting our focus on. I think there's a poll question here.
So we'll give you a minute to answer that poll question. And then Sherry, do you want to give us the results?
I can, yeah. We've got 65% said yes and 35% no, they don't have a program. Just want to put a little plug in too. If you've got any questions, please remember to put them in there and we'll be addressing them at the end.
Great, thanks, Sherry. So I think we're going to have another poll question right after this, but change management was incredibly important for this. I think this is sometimes we get really excited in safety, and we've got initiatives and ideas, and you know we talk a lot and get feedback, and we want to put something in. But if we don't explain clearly the problem and the solution that we're trying to get to everyone, the buy-in will not be there, and it is so critical. And it's different at every level, and I think everyone gets that. For the worker, what's in it for them is really getting to the heart of why we're trying to keep people safe at work. For the leadership and executive, it might be a different view. You know, how are we ensuring we don't compromise people's safety while ensuring that we're having top quality and top production? So that all of that has to be considered, and you really do. We realized that we needed a formal communication plan and a formal right from the start of this to the end of this in our planning on how to change the focus and why it's so important that we move away from just when people get hurt and how to fix that and figure it out from the learnings, opposed to when something happens, nobody's gotten hurt, but that could have been a potential major incident, and fix it on this end before it gets there. So we had a lot of work to do in the planning, and I think there's a poll question here.
Okay, yeah. We've got 81% said yes and 19% said no.
Okay, and that's to the safety leadership team, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I'll share with you guys, this was huge for us. So we knew we needed buy-in from all levels. So we had developed this safety leadership team would meet once a month, and they were leaders from every level in our organization, as well as representation from our JOSH committees, so our joint occupational health and safety committees. We have a standard agenda, and the whole idea is to gain the alignment, help have change agent champions in this group to go out and support the changes and the initiatives that we were putting in place and making, because when at that time we had almost 1,300 employees, and it was really hard to do that with just 2 or 3 of us. So we needed this group for support. And so that's why we went through them for a lot of our feedback and a lot of suggestion making and support on the change management and the communication. And then I wanted to share this with you. I'm going to have Marla speak to it, but just so you can see, I'm really, and I know Marla is too, and the rest of our safety team, we're really big on making things fun. It's actually one of our core values as well at Conifex, and I think things can be, even though they're really important and they're really serious, they can still be fun. So we'll share a couple other pieces of material that we have from our company, but you'll see we kind of make them cartoonish. This is actually our safety management system. This is an icon that people can click on. It's actually an interactive vest, and the pockets on each sleeve you go into, and there's, I think, over 1,000 pages of document material inside this vest. But this is our safety management system, our repository. And I'm sharing this with you because this actually kind of all happened at the same time. It wasn't just one thing we did. We didn't just incorporate focusing on high-risk activities. We also decided we need actually a really formalized framework. We need a place to hold and house all of our programs, all of our elements, all of our policies, our procedures, our practices. And so, Marla, why don't you share with them how this works on a day-to-day for us?
So we use this SMS as a tool to help educate our workers and our supervisors. It's accessible on all of our training computers. So we've got training computers that our workers go on to do their computer-based training. So they have access to go in and look for any information in our safety management system. Our supervisors use it. You can see the forms and checklist box there. So they can just click on that and it's got all the current forms that we use. So when they're looking for something, it's easy. They just go in, they click on it. And if they have any questions about how the program works or what they should be doing, then they can go in and research. There's a search bar in it to make it easy. You just type in what you're searching for and it comes up. So it works really well for us. All right, hand it back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Marla. I think we have another poll question.
So if you want to go ahead and answer that poll question, we'll give you a few minutes to do that. And then Sherry will read us the responses when they come in. Okay, then we'll just...
Pardon our technical difficulties.
All right, we'll just continue on, Kristen.
Okay, no worries. Well, the question was, if you saw the question, just asking if you also felt that a safety management system would be an integral part of a program. And I mean, I would just assume that people would say yes to that. Having a repository and having a common place for your people and your safety team are really critical, we have found, to the success of safety in our company. So I'll move on now to the project team. And similar to actually the safety management system, any other initiative that we've got going on, we currently have one right now, hazard recognition and control training and program project, actually with the BC4 Safety Council. And we always put together a project team for each of these initiatives. We have found by pulling some people out and not just safety, people off the floor and leadership, having a mixed group, a focus group to support the initiative, again, will create buy-in. It adds champions on the floor for the subject matter, and it gives you a really diverse perspective on what others are thinking in their own jobs, because we all work in different roles and might have a different perspective. So that's been really helpful for us. In our project, we outline objectives, goals, we have planning, we always put a timeline together, like so that we believe this is going to take 6 months, 10 months, and then work backwards. And then we have controls in place and checks to make sure that we're on time and putting these in place. And I mean, it seems like a lot of work on the front end. It also links to the communication plan and the change management portion, but it actually really helped our projects go a lot smoother and getting a lot more feedback than, you know, just putting something together, trying to roll it out and trying to get people to have buy-in on it. I guess the other last piece that's really important is the return on investment and understanding what our objectives really were. And basically what we were trying to lower severity, we were trying to lower frequency, we were trying to lower injuries, so recordables, lost time, and obviously our TRIR, we were trying to get that lower as well. So we pulled together a survey and we rolled that out to all different levels. So the JOSH committees, the safety leadership team had the survey, we had people on the floor, and what we asked people were to, considering high risk activities in the job you do, what do you believe the top risks are? What do you think, when you're doing your job, is the most at stake for you and the highest risk? And we got information back and we had over 30. And so we took those 30 top highest risks and we went to the safety leadership team and we, you know, talked about it and said, okay, we can't have 30. It's just way too many to focus on. So let's just try to get it down. So we whittled them down to 10. And they're like, okay, do you think we can focus on 10? And we discussed it a little bit more, took it back to the JOSH committees, and we ended up with 5. And you'll see this little prelude here, that little cartoon in the corner. We wanted to put a name to it. We wanted people to remember it. And we wanted, again, to have fun while we were changing our culture. I think we have a poll here.
So the poll question's up. If you want to answer that, what do you believe your top risk is currently at your workplace? Please select all that apply. And when that comes in, Sherry will give us our answers.
We will have to get some background music for this next time. improvement, right? Okay, so we've got 74% voted now. Got 40% said dust, 68% said energy, 20 said confined space, and 32% said fall from work high-level platforms.
Great, thank you for that. So this was our campaign. These were our top 5 areas that we ended up coming to. We wanted to make it catchy, so we titled it the Conifex 5. We created posters. We got swag. We got mitts and gloves with the names on it. So you'll see our top 5 are energy isolation, permit to work, fall prevention, fit for work, and driving safely. And we did a huge communication. We had, I think we had probably some lunch and learns. We had barbecues. We had scarves, hats. We had a whole bunch of things to whistles, a whole bunch of things that we rolled out with this so that people understood we are going on this new drive of focusing on these top 5. And anytime we have an incident with any of these categories, we're going to focus on them. So what did that mean? So that's like, excellent. Okay, so you're going to focus on them. So what does that mean? Well, we had to put together another project team because we had to figure out what's our process and policy going to be now for doing this focus. I'll pass this over to Marla to share this with you.
So we developed policies, procedures, we made definitions. We called it our critical incident reporting. And so we needed forms, we did the reporting tree. We had to decide how we were going to go through that all. So we'll go to the next slide and I'll show you that this is our policy and procedure. So we trained our supervisors to know the policy and procedures. When we have an incident on their shift, they will determine if it's a critical incident category. If it is, they will report to the safety supervisor and superintendent. The safety supervisor then sets up a conference call with the leadership team, the general managers, the safety team from all of our divisions. Kristen, if you go to the next slide, we decided that in determining it, we didn't want to use a risk matrix because they're subjective. So what we did is in the first section, it's the Conifex 5. It's the energy isolation, fit for duty, driving safely, fall prevention, permit to work. But we also wanted some flexibility because we recognize that it's not only those ones, it could be others. So we do have another category in there that if they felt that it had a serious potential, they could click that. And then in the second section, it says, can it cause a serious injury? And if the potential could have caused a serious injury, that's when we get on the phone and have a discussion over what happened and what we're going to do. So then the next one, Kristen, is the reporting tree. So we developed the reporting tree so that we've got the process, we've got the documentation. Now this is who we're going to report. We wanted to involve multi-level leadership and multi-departmental involvement. So we get on the call within 48 hours and people from all the divisions are invited to that call. Next. We have the agenda then, which is a set agenda, and we have the same person heading up the call so it stays consistent. So we walk through the questions. The supervisor talks about the details of the incident, including the status of the worker training, what happened, and if there are hazards and what we've done to mitigate them and control them. The participants on the call are free to ask questions or offer other ideas or suggestions. The call is not to find root cause, it's just preliminary. Next steps are discussed, and if required, we do a safety flash to send out to everybody so that all the employees know as well. It's created and throughout the organization. And then I'll hand it back to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Marla. I'll just add as well, it wasn't smooth and it hasn't been smooth sailing along the whole way. There's a lot of reassuring people when they're talking through the description of the incident, really wanting to ensure the confidentiality of the workers involved and trying to stick to worker opposed to their names, being a little sensitive when we talk about drug and alcohol testing, post-incident testing, or reasonable cause testing, really ensuring people focus on what's happened so far and what's been mitigated and what have we learned, and not focusing on people coming to a conclusion on a root cause right then. This is the preliminary investigation, and really, just trying to get the immediate information and immediate causes and direct causes first, which is, it's getting there. It's taking quite some time, but it's getting there. So lessons learned, we learned a lot of lessons. So I would say we implemented this in I think it was January 2019. Marla, does that sound about right?
Yeah.
And so, we're just coming up to our 2-year mark with this. I would say that for me, and Marla, please speak up too, a few things that I think were really important were including all levels of the organization. I think that was really important. Not just your JOSH committees, including the workers on the floor and going to different machine centers and getting their feedback. I think that making it as basic as you can. I think that checklists can be subjective, but we personally felt they were less subjective than a risk matrix, which people can struggle with and also can be complicated. Make it fun. Have fun while you're doing it. It doesn't need to be always so serious. Take the feedback and be open to taking feedback and coaching others to take feedback and being okay with whatever you come up with that works for you. It really doesn't matter what you call it. We were trying to make something snazzy and that would work and that everyone would remember, the Conifex 5 and the critical incident reporting. That's worked for us, but really the objective is the focus on the high risk activities and getting in front of the incidents before they turn to worse recordables and catastrophic injuries. And I think that some of the learnings that I'll just share with you on the calls that we've had from them, we implemented site-wide across our company lockout verification systems. We had buddy systems. We tightened up our new and young worker program. We brought in more enhanced driver training for our folks that are driving on really rough terrain and logging roads and winter conditions. We re-audited and re-inspected our guarding around our machine centers. We were already doing a lot on dust, so that was already kind of taking place at the same time. A whole nother project that was going on outside of this that was heavily on our HR side was our Recover at Work program. I'll just put a plug in there for that. It's called RAW, that we partnered with WorkSafe on, and that also was helping us on our claims cost side. But what I do want to share with you is the results of this program, because they really are. I really, really do believe, and I know Marla would too, believe that when we look at our statistics from a couple years ago to now, these programs have really made the difference for us. And Marla, I'm sorry, did you have anything else to add on the lessons learned?
No, I think you got it covered.
Okay, so I'm going to just share with you a couple statistics. So just our TRIR from 2018 was 5.3. In 2019, 1 year after we put this program in place, it went from 5.3 to 2.4. And this year, we're not done yet. I always like to touch wood or something. We're at 2.2. Our recordables, in 2018, we had 30. In 2019, we had 9. And this year, we've had 4. Our lost times, in 2018, were 19. In 2019, we're 9. And this year, we have 0. Our severity has gone from 162 from 2018. Marla's very proud. It is. You should. It's fantastic. Our severity went from 162 in 2018 to 20 in 2019 to 0 in 2020. Our frequency, now this one is one that we still have challenge with, but we were at 48 to 28, and we're sitting at 39 today, so we still have work to do with our frequency. Our claims cost, and I won't say it's all contributed to this, but it certainly had a major impact. Our raw program is the other impact on our claims cost. Was 412,000 in 2018. Was 313,000 in 2019, and is 63,000 this year. We've had incredible success with this program. I would also say that we've also really, because of the buy-in, we've got our actionable items that come from our observations and the actions that come out of our incidents. When we get on these calls, we review them every month now at our leadership team meeting. And, you know, where we would go maybe 3 or 4, 6 months and say, oh, geez, we've got like 50 actions outstanding. Did anybody, you know, take a look at this, you know, door they were supposed to fix? Oh, no, but we've had 3 more incidents since. That doesn't happen anymore. Every month we look at our actions and make sure they're completed or they're in process. And everybody has just bought in. You could walk up to somebody now and ask, what's the Conifex 5? And I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that doesn't know what they are and couldn't name at least 2 or 3 of them, for sure.
And our Josh committee is still involved, and the last month at our meeting, they suggested that we get stickers to put where a critical incident happens, because they said, like, we know now that it happened, but in a couple of months when we lose employees and new employees come, new employees wouldn't know. So in order to make sure new employees know that this happened, it's a great conversation piece to continue learning from.
Yeah. And we did check our last, since we started collecting statistics on our critical incident reporting, and 96% of our critical incident reporting calls are near misses. So that is now what we focus on. We focus on our near misses. So here's just an outline of, again, some of the other benefits that we've had from the outcomes of implementing our program. And we're at the stage for questions. So.
If you have anything right now, that's a tremendous amount of information, and it was real positive. So we've got Sue that's up there now. But anyone who has questions, I'll make sure they get to Kristen later. And like I said, this is going to be made available at a later time. And we'll just wait now. I'll talk slowly. Oh, someone said thanks, lady. So a comment, not a question. So thank you so much for spending time with us today, everyone. This is the second webinar, like I indicated earlier, and thanks so much, Kristen and Marla, for sharing this program with us and what you've done. So how a thought became such a huge thing and had so many positive outcomes in your organization. Everyone that's on the call, we really appreciate your time. We do have, like, there's a number of things that Kristen talked about here, and we do have resources that can help you with some of this in your organization. We will send out a link to, we do have a website that's set up with 2 really good whiteboard videos that talk about why these types of incidents are important and why prioritizing investigation efforts and communication efforts makes such a difference, as you can see from what they both just talked about. The webinars, this one and the last one that Troy Withy from West Fraser shared, will be made available. We also have posters and crew talks to communicate within. I think one of the things that I got from Kristen that's really important is you've got to explain the problem. So what we do and what we've done here at the council is trying to provide you resources with you to help with that communication at your work sites. I love the idea about the stickers saying a critical incident happened here. We have stickers. We've got SIFp stickers that you can take and you can order free of charge. And maybe that's a way to get the conversation going around your work site. I'm not showing my screen, it's coming up. I love so much of what was here. Thoughts rarely become things without good change management and project management. And I think Kristen and Marla showed that their organization was able to do both. Inclusion always means ownership too. So the approach that you did and you showed with including people to help identify what the big incidents were, I think that's tremendous. Another plug for us, if you guys have incidents that you think should be shared with the rest of industry, please forward them to us. We will strip them of all identifying information and then put them into our safety alert process. If you aren't part of that process, you can sign up at our website as well. So I'm just going to leave it there and say thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you were able to share this story with us today. And I know everyone got a lot out of it.
Thank you very much for having us. It was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks.